As we approach the twilight days of the year of the Kraken, players on the ladder will opt for one of two possible strategies of the remaining days before the rotation. On one side, highly competitive players will take advantage of these days, queuing up the fastest, most powerful decks in the meta, Aggro Shaman or Pirate Warrior, and push as many ranks as possible to get ahead on their climb before all the variables of new cards in the rotation hits. On the other hand, a handful of players will be looking for something fun and unique to climb the ladder with. Albeit less efficient, some enjoy savoring the cards that are leaving standard and grinding ranks in a unique fashion. Anyone in this second group needs look no further for a deck to do just this than the latest iterations of Madam Goya Control Shaman. Goya Control Shaman has three main components. The first is removal. Core to the list are 2 copies of Maelstrom Portal, 2 copies of Lightning Storm, 2 copies of Elemental Destruction, 2 copies of Hex, and usually 1 or 2 copies of both Devolve and Lightning Bolt. This arsenal of AoE and clear gives the deck a remarkably consistent ability to push back aggro and Jade board development. The second is Heal and Stall. 2 copies of Healing Wave, which usually bring home a joust victory in this deck, offers nearly 30 healing, and opponents in the current meta have learned that totems will usually punish them harshly, so the Shaman hero power tends to stall the game a lot, as well as discount things from below closer and closer to 0 mana. The third is where the deck gets its name from, a crushing value play. After stabilizing with removal and heal, most games end with the Crusher Shaman developing an unbelievable value on one turn, and the opponent going to the bottom right for a concede play. Potential for cheating out game-winning plays doubles with the addition of Madam Goya to go along with Barnes. Ideally, you either cheat out a powerful minion and tag it with Ancestral Spirit, or you simply drop an Earth Elemental or Storm Guardian and give it Ancestral Spirit. Sometimes playing Barnes on curve with this deck can be bad. Pulling out the token without interacting with it usually isn't that strong, unless you high roll with a Yashiraj. Using Madam Goya on curve, or even on turn 8 with a hero power, is incredibly strong however, as it offers you the full value of a powerful minion from your deck on top of Madam Goya's 7 stats. The ins and outs of Goya Shaman are usually not all that complex. Generally, if the board significantly threatens your life total, clear it, but also make calculated risks in using your life total as a resource to buy more turns, and extend the game into higher mana and draw cards. If you play Elemental Destruction and Lava Shock on a strong board on turn 5, but also could have survived to use it on 6 on an even better board, this can sometimes be the difference maker that gets you to your high roll turns in a relevant way. Surprisingly, this greedy deck actually finds consistent ways to win against aggro. Your primary goal is to manage your health total to the moment where you drop a significant taunt, which can usually end the game. The tricky part is managing overload and health to get you there. Take special care to keep your health high enough that you don't die to burst after you play your taunt. Look for Maelstrom Portal, Hex, Devolve, and Lightning Bolt against aggro. Versus all the variety of Jade, Reno, and mid-range decks, the key is to look for the perfect 2-turn window where you will clear and stabilize on the first turn and then set up an overwhelming play on the next. Use Elemental Destruction, Lava Shock, and Healing Wave to get yourself to this moment. And, if possible, hang on to your powerful minions and board resources until that moment. It's vital in these types of matchups to realize that if you don't have a value play to follow your removal, then there really isn't much point in removing, as you're going to lose anyway on the subsequent turn. This is especially true against Jade decks. For instance, against Jade Shaman, it can be tempting to play around things like Bloodlust and clear a sizable board, but oftentimes giving up removal early just to play around a burst like this is a lose-lose situation. If you clear the board, and they don't have Bloodlust in their hand, and you don't have a follow-up play, your opponent will quickly redevelop and then kill you, having exhausted all your removal earlier. Conversely, if they had Bloodlust, you were going to lose anyway. Keep this in mind as you evaluate the correct moments to give up your removal against these types of decks. Make sure you have a way to win the game on the turn subsequent to your removal. The Miracle Rogue matchup is the one where very specific strategies are what give the Shaman an edge. Against Rogue, it's often best to employ old-school concede style, where you attempt to exhaust the Rogue of its resources entirely. The 2 things key to pulling this off are, 1. Keeping track of how many threats the Rogue has played and how many are left, and 2. Whether or not you've seen your Rogue opponent's conceals. Remember that things like Devolve and Elemental Destruction can go through conceal, so use Hex, Bolt, and Minion trades where possible, and reserve Elemental Destruction and your AoE effects for concealed minions. Because the Rogue runs Sap, and maybe even 2 copies of it, don't overinvest in something like an Earth Elemental, especially with Ancestral Spirit, and take careful watch on your overload so you can anticipate the mana you might require to deal with a threat on the following turn. One of the most enjoyable parts of this deck is that there is a very solid core set of cards that should not change, and then there's another large chunk of cards that can be swapped out with other options still leading to success on the ladder. As far as removal, players have flexed the number of Devolve, Lightning Bolt, maybe Stormcrack, and Ancestral Knowledge in the deck. As far as finishers, players have experimented with Sylvanas, Ragnaros, Ysera, and Malagos and still had great success. Anything with a strong onboard effect that triggers from Goya and Barnes on the turn you play them might suffice as a finisher substitute in Crusher Shaman. We hope you enjoyed this overview of what promises to be a fun and decently successful way to begin the April season climb and, more importantly, to close out the Year of the Kraken. Be on the lookout in the coming weeks for all sorts of quality written and video content on the Journey to Un'Goro expansion on Good Gaming's website. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and join the discussion in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date on all of Good Gaming's Hearthstone guides and videos.